Good morning, everybody. How y'all doing out there? Good morning, sweetheart.
Good morning, love.
How are you today, babe?
Okay. How is
Good.
everyone?
Yeah, how's everybody? Good morning and good afternoon. I keep forgetting we have groups from the UK here in our chat and in Europe. So good afternoon to those of you over there. Guys, I want you to check the description below. We do have the link to BirdOPrey's GoFundMe. So if you guys can, if you haven't already helped out, give a little bit if you could. We need to help our buddy. He's in a little bit of need with Mama Prey under the weather. So I hope everything is going okay with her. There was a quick report. She's still in the hospital, but she's doing a little bit better, according to Bird. So I hope, fingers crossed, that everything goes okay today and we can get her home and well soon.
Yeah.
So, guys, I also popped the link into the chat, so I'll do it again before the show ends. And Darth Haster, if you could find it, that would be awesome.
Yeah. Big thank you to everyone who helped out this morning.
That was wonderful. You guys really, this community really comes together when one of our own is in need, and that really did my heart good this morning because it's Monday and Monday sucks. I hate Mondays. I feel like Garfield today. It was such a long weekend. It didn't feel like it, but it was so long. Ugh. Anyways, so should we say good morning to those who have joined us in our chat this morning, dear?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Let's see who we've got hanging out. Well, Darth Haster is here. Good morning. Positive Candor, good to see you. Mark the Infinitely Tired. Oh, there's Colin P. Smith. Good afternoon, my love. How you doing? And somehow you've elevated from 30 out of 30 to 31 out of 30. I don't know what you did, Purple, but you did something.
Thank you.
Let's see. Crimson Mist says Mirnin hanging out. Cool. Good morning. Who else is hanging out with us, babe?
We've got Teller A, Psycho Dwarf, who's working and lurking.
Ah.
Let's scroll down. Look, Dave Bob. Hey, Dave Bob.
Hey, Dave Bob.
Chris Persia. Hey, Chris. Good morning.
Good morning, Chris.
I'm sure there's somebody else that we've missed. Mary. Hey, Mary. Well done for the weekend. You guys did so well.
Bravo. That was a great stream. I can't believe you guys did 24 hours. Holy man. I didn't think Mark was going to make it. Did he ever get his chair back? Do we know? Because that dragon is adorable.
It is so cute.
Lady Mist is hanging out with us this morning. Good morning, sweetheart. Pod Racing Palpatine, Cobalt, and Pudgy. Good morning, Pudgy. Yeah, if it's cold where you are, stay under the covers. Just, you can lay there and listen. Because it's chilly here in Texas this morning. I was like, holy smoke. Somebody left the air conditioning on. I was like, holy smoke. Good morning, Eastland Burkholder.
Good morning.
He has an update for us. And Mama Prey has a ruptured eardrum and the bad effects from it. But the worry is that there is some other problem too. I see. They're running tests to exclude. I see. Gotcha. Ruptured eardrum. Holy Hannah.
Painful.
Oh my God. I can't imagine the level of pain. And I've had kids. That I know is like excruciating. Mary says he did get his chair back. As far as making it, he took an hour and a half snooze on my couch. I had a feeling. Eastland Burkholder says it's chilly in Mississippi too. Where in Mississippi are you? I'm from Mississippi originally. Just curious. Cobalt and Punch. Snow. Are you serious? No, thank you. And cold in Utah. Oh, no, thank you. There's snow out there. No.
Yeah, winter's definitely on the way.
Oh, most definitely. Mary said, It skipped on me. Sawed some large logs, I'll bet. Dave Bob adds that it can give you severe vertigo. I've never experienced it. So, beyond a panic attack, I've got no experience. Good morning, Fat Steven.
Good morning.
There's snow in Ontario. Oh, you guys can have it. I'm glad I live in the South. We don't get snow that often. So today we're going to cover episodes 2 and 3 of season 3 of Vikings today. Mixed, let's see, episode 2 is called The Wanderer. This was a wonky episode. It was creepy.
Yeah, this episode was all over the place. And is it this season, because I didn't notice it last season, that they've started doing recaps of what went on?
Of the previous?
Yeah, because it kind of threw me. I was like, they weren't doing that before.
I don't remember it from season 1. In my stuff for Amazon Prime, they do recaps for every episode for at least season 2, and starting in more heavily in season 3. I don't think they did it for every episode.
Okay, because I didn't notice it for season 2, but season 3 definitely, because I have to keep skipping the recap.
Ah, gotcha. Oh, Ethan Burkholder, before we go on, he's in Monticello. I don't know where Monticello is, but I'm from Jackson originally. I know. I'll have to look at a map. But yeah, the recaps, like I said, I noticed them in season 2. But that could just be my version that they have here in the States. I'm not sure. I remember them doing it when the show was live. For season 3 and 4. But not for 1 and 2. I don't remember them. But let's see. The gang, so to speak, all our favorite Vikings, Floki, Rollo, Thorsten, et al., have defeated Princess Quenthrith's, I hate saying her name, Quenthrith's uncle. It is a mouthful. That crazy woman. God, she's nuts. Uncle Britwolf.
Yes, that was quite a battle, wasn't it? It was kind of funny.
It was brutal.
The way they had it set up, they had one army on one side of the bank of the river and the other army on the other.
Yeah.
And I
got to give Ragnar credit.
We're just going to attack the smaller army because the other army can't do anything about it.
Yep. And I think, oh my gosh, Burgred's even asks his commander, why are they only attacking that side, that shore? Well, because it's a smaller army. And like you said, you can't get to them. And Ragnar sees this. He's like, suckers.
Yes, and obviously Britwolf was the bigger target, even though he had the smaller army for some reason.
Yeah, since he's wandering around with, the king's crown on his head. And that was, wow, that battle was incredible. Not as incredible as the one in the next episode, but...
It was pretty brutal, wasn't it? But it was pretty short-lived as well.
Yeah, I mean... The Vikings wiped the land pretty well with Britwolf's army. Oh my god. And watching Floki just take down the king. I was like, yes!
Yes.
He looked particularly pissed off, or was it just me?
He did, yeah. And it did make me laugh that later on in the episode, Quenthrith, she's all drunk and celebrating, and she asks for his head, and Floki goes off to go get it.
Yeah, he just is kind of like, okay, I'll do it. No problem. Later, nerds. Off he goes.
Like he was popping out for a loaf of bread or something. It's so weird.
Yeah, he's chewing on something and like, yeah, sure. Gaia got this. Tra la la. Off he goes, axe in hand. Okay. But I do believe in this episode we see Thorsten get injured.
We do. Yes.
And that was like an arrow to the bicep, if I remember correctly. And I'm like, oh!
He did. He just shrugged it off. He just kind of looks at it, snaps the arrow, and tosses it to one side, and carries on.
Off he goes. Okay, I can still fight. I can still use my arm. What the hell?
Not going to let a little thing like being shot stop him.
Nah, it's Thorsten.
I did also like the scare tactic that Ragnar used for when he took on the Quinfrith's brother as well. He used the heads of his defeated enemies and hung them from the front of the boat.
That was so creepy. That and the way it was scored.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh shit. And he's just sitting on top of him, just grinning. Like, you want to try it? Should we give it a go? Meanwhile, all of Burgard's army is just running away. Like,
yeah.
Nah.
They noped right out of there.
Yeah, they were just, nope, gone. We're later nerds. We are not hanging around for this. So you're on your own there, Burgard. Have fun. Have a good time. And I mean, even his sister is on the boat just pleading for him to stay. And I'm just like, why are you screaming at him to stay? There's a motive here.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, ugh.
Yeah, she's such a slippery character.
Yeah, she's crazy. I've seen inside that woman's head, and it's a sack full of cats. No.
I mean, clearly she's had a terrible time from what she's described. And it's had a really bad effect on her. But
a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, considering how she was brought up, so to speak, it was like, ugh. I don't want to go into too many details, guys, because it's really kind of, it's really kind of scary. It's not at all pleasant. It's just like, ugh.
But you can see why she was so hell-bent on getting revenge on her uncle.
Very much so, yeah. Oh, Winterhands ASMR, welcome. Good to see you. And Pudgy's pondering again. What are you pondering, sweetheart? Let us know in the chat. Squirrels, not cats, says Mark the Infinitely Tired. No, she's madder than a sack full of cats. Or a box of frogs, as you guys say.
Yep.
In the UK, I love that. The idea of a box full of frogs being angry. I can see it. Meanwhile, back in Wessex, dun dun dun.
Yes, that's the other thing I did notice with this episode and the next one. There's a lot of cutting back and forth.
Yeah, it's like, meanwhile.
It was a little bit distracting by the end of it because you're like, Mercia, Wessex.
Mercia, Wessex, Ketticut.
Ketticut, the other place where Lagerford's from. It's like, god damn.
Yeah. It's like, where are we on the Scandinavian island? Are we in England? Where are we? Okay, you guys keep going back and forth. It did skip a lot, but there was a lot, I think, that Michael Hurst wanted to cover.
Yes, there was a lot of lots of threads that needed to be brought together. Absolutely.
And he was really, you could see the writer really working his ass off to make sure that it got done. I wonder how much, honestly, got left on the cutting room floor. But it still flowed well. It just skipped a lot.
Yes,
it cut a lot. I was like, okay, I'm getting dizzy. What are you guys doing? But in Wessex, King Egbert is starting to think with the other head, and he's taken quite a shine to our lovely Lagertha. And as she and Athelstan are working to establish the farmland there in Wessex.
Yes, they're very, very happy with the land that they've been given. They've got great land. They've got people to work the land with them. They've got tools. So Lagertha's pretty pleased with the deal so far.
Yeah, so far so good. And she does, she's just like, oh my gosh, this is all that we've ever wanted. I think she even states that, Ragnar wanted land just for his young folk to farm and be prosperous, and that she now wants the same thing. And it was just like, oh, the angels sang and gave them, and Egbert just gave them, like 5,000 acres or whatever to farm.
Yeah, and you can kind of understand that. I know, like, technically for us, she's not particularly old, but if you think for the Viking age, she's getting on in years. She can't really do what she did when she was a shield maiden. So
yes,
the idea of being able to settle down on land that's prosperous, I would think it's a dream come true for her.
Yeah. And I think it was in this episode even that King Egbert knelt down and picked up manure and handed it to her as a gift. And that really struck me because I'm like, a king picking up poo? Gross.
She seemed pretty pleased with it though. She's like, this is good stuff.
She's like, oh yeah, good stuff. What does it do? But it was interesting to see Athelstan kind of be a third wheel.
Yes,
since he had to do all the translation for everybody. I was like, yeah. Meanwhile, in the Hall of Justice, yeah, no kidding.
But Athelstan in this episode and into the next also has his own problems because he's caught the eye of Lady Judith.
And she's all at dinner. She's all eating grapes and trying to be sexy. I'm just like, oh, somebody's flirty.
Yes, she asks him about the pagans, doesn't she? And he's translating back and forth, and he's talking about the pagan gods, and he's talking about Christ. And Lagertha's ears prick up because she hears the word Odin, and she wants to know what he's talking about. And I think the line is, he said, I love Odin, but I also love Christ. So he's still very conflicted in his beliefs.
Yeah, very much so. I was like, here we go again with his conflicted belief. He's faced kind of dead on at this point because he's got Viking settlers, that have taken him in, the settlers from Kattegat, and now the English king.
Yes.
And his subjects.
Yes, and the king himself is also getting pressure put on him from his nobles because they don't like having the pagans here.
No, which is something that Athelstan overhears. And it's like, uh-oh, dun dun dun, this is not gonna go well. Now we could go again, meanwhile, back in the Hall of Justice, we go to Kattegat. And Helga and Siggy and Aslog have all dreamed about some stranger.
Yes. This was a strange one because this thread of the story in this episode, I couldn't figure out where they were going with it because
I couldn't either.
Completely random. So I was like, okay, where are you going with this?
Exactly. That's why I was like, okay. Let's stick with it. There's a thread here for a reason. Let's not pull on it too hard, but let's see where this goes. Could be interesting. But they all dream of the same guy with a bloodied hand, I think. Yeah, a bloodied hand and a snowball of fire.
Yes. And as the blood's dripping onto the snow, it's sizzling.
Yeah.
It's a very strange dream that they all describe, and it's identical. And you can see the look of worry on the three of them. It's like, oh dear, this can't be good.
It's like, and I think Siggy also has, they also have a dream, but we're centered on Siggy, where something happens to the seer.
Yes. The seer has either been attacked or something terrible has happened to him.
Yeah.
And he's in a bad way in this dream. He looks like he'd been really badly beaten up. Yeah.
He's not looking so hot. I mean, he doesn't look hot to begin with, but jeez. I mean, it's like it means something, but when nobody's sure what. But they all, if I remember correctly, they all have that same dream. We just get it from Siggy's point of view.
Yes, we do. Yes. And Siggy seems to be the most troubled by these dreams. The other two kind of brush it off that they've dreamed the same thing, but Siggy seems to take this as a really bad omen.
Yeah. And even Helga is just kind of like, well, shit. Okay.
It's a dream. Yeah.
It's a dream, but it's weird that we all had the same dream. I suddenly felt like they were treating Helga a little bit like an airhead.
Yes, and Helga's not stupid at all.
Oh no!
I really like Helga. I think she's a great character.
Helga's one of my favorites.
They did portray her as being a little bit ditzy in this episode and in the next episode.
Yeah. But these dreams start to bother all three of them because at some point they all wake up from the same dream again, and next thing you see is them around the fire.
Yes,
in the middle of the long hall, the longhouse. So I was like, okay, so clearly this is disturbing. Something's fixing to happen. So maybe there is a stranger that's coming to Keteket.
Yes, clearly something is, this is portraying something, but you don't know what just yet.
And then we can go back to, now we can go on to Hedeby.
Hedeby.
All the places we're visiting. And Earl Kalf has proclaimed himself as Earl, which is something I saw coming. I knew he was going to do that.
Yeah, I did too as well. He got Einar's backing pretty quickly because Einar's kind of single-minded, even though he seemed to really want to be Earl himself. He seems to put that to one side, which is a little bit odd.
Yeah. I wondered why he did that, but I figured he's got to have one of the more powerful, more influential families, obviously, in Hedeby. So that's why Earl Kalf needed his support, his family support, which I believe is what he asked for.
He did, yes. Yeah, that's right. And oddly enough, you'd think that Lagertha would have been quite popular at Hedeby, but apparently she wasn't, because everyone just kind of backs him almost immediately. There isn't really anyone that puts up any protest about her being basically de-earled.
No, nobody says a word. It's just like, ugh, interesting. And they all immediately gather around Earl Kalf. That was what was so strange. It was like, really? He had a line. Oh my God. Nothing between her legs but a goat's, nothing between his legs but a goat's beard. And I'm like, dude, cold.
That was harsh.
That was kind of like, she's not even there to defend herself. Boy, is she going to be pissed when she gets home.
Oh, yes.
And we do later see that, guys. So stay tuned. Stay tuned.
Yes, he's an unknown at the moment, because you think it was only the last episode of the episode before that you actually really get to know him as a character. And so there is more backstory to him, but it was a little bit odd that nobody protested.
Yeah, not a single soul.
And Sigurd wasn't popular as far as I could tell with them, so
no,
really, she kind of did them a favor.
Yeah, really. It's like, well, now you don't have an asshole that's a drunken asshole that's in charge. I mean, he's a butt. Yeah, be glad he's gone,
All I can think of is that they just didn't like the idea of having a female Earl.
Yeah. We don't like girls.
Even though she proved herself, more than capable.
The other thing we forgot to bring up was Bjorn and Poren.
And Poren, yes. Poren really threw herself into being a shield maiden.
She sure did.
As soon as the boat touched land, she was off and into the fight.
She was
much to Bjorn's dismay.
Yeah, I don't think Bjorn was too happy with that, because at this point she's already pregnant. So no spoilers there, guys. We already know this from the last episode. or at least it's hinted at between the episodes. But he kind of tells her, he walks up to her after the battle, and she's clearly got a buzz on. He's just like, you fought well, but you have much to learn. And I thought, well, didn't your dad say that to you?
Yes, I think he even has a go at her for not staying by his side.
Yeah, and then turns around and proposes to her. I'm like, what?
Beyond the hopeless romantic, he just kind of blurts it out. You're gonna marry me? And she's like, what? She's shell shocked. What was that?
Sure. Okay. And the exchange between the two actors was really good, because you could tell they have a chemistry. They played really well off of each other. The lines were delivered pretty much flawlessly.
Yes, I really like Alexander Ludwig as Bjorn. I think he plays such a good character.
Where else do I know him from?
He is familiar, isn't he? And I can never remember where else I've seen him.
He just seems, I'm the same. He seems super familiar. So guys, in the chat, if you guys have any ideas where he's from, because I swear to God, I know him from somewhere.
Hunger Games. He's Kato.
Oh! Duh. I should have known that. I was forced to watch those films. I was. Gun to my head. I had kids. AJ read all the books. We saw all the movies. Blah, blah, blah. Excuse me. Hairball.
But no, he's a great actor, and he plays such a good role. I really like the kid that played Bjorn as well.
Me too.
Yeah, Alexander is awesome.
Yeah, when they aged him up, I was worried. Because I was doing the same thing, going, I know this actor from somewhere, but is he going to be any good? Yeah, he's pretty good. Okay. Got a grown up Bjorn. Awesome. Also, meanwhile, back in Wessex, now that we're finally back there, Prince Aethelwulf is going to look for Burgred.
Yes.
And they capture one of his soldiers. And I'm like, uh-oh, this is going to get weird. And practically tortures an answer out of him as to the location of Burgred's army so the Vikings can go fight. And he's like, oh, yeah, they're right up there on top of that mountain. Oh, okay. How'd you come by that information? Don't ask. But he's Aethelwulf. I don't trust either.
No, I don't either.
I mean, he's fighting English against English, essentially. I mean, it's Mercia, of course, versus the Vikings and Wessex, but still. Yeah.
Yeah, it seems to be the way of it. They're all kind of out for themselves.
Yeah. I think that might be the understatement of the series, hon. But I could see in Aethelwulf, that secondary. I have a plan for this as well, and he's not particularly telling anybody. He's just particularly shifty. I think honestly, he doesn't trust the Vikings.
No, I think he just
nor does he even like them.
He's just seeing them as hired help.
Pretty
something
much,
that's disposable. You can send them into battle first.
Yeah, they're the expendables, So, oh, the chat just jumped on me. James Andrew Morrison versus IKEAs. Okay. Oh my God, you guys are silly. Now I guess we could wrap up by going back to Kettiket, because this stranger does arrive.
He does, yes, and he kind of appears out of the mist, doesn't he?
Yeah,
I'm
coming down the hill.
Early evening or early morning, but Helga's doing her shopping, minding her own business, and out of the mist appears
this guy.
This guy, yes.
Our stranger.
This guy with a wounded hand.
Uh-huh. Who also looked really familiar to me at first. I'm like, I know him. I know this actor from somewhere. And he played Gua'uld on Stargate SG-1. I can't remember the name of the Gua'uld. So guys in the chat, we rely on you guys for information. But I was like, holy shit, I did know this guy. He's still really weird. He plays really weird characters. He seems like a great guy, but
he does it really well though.
Yeah, he does creepy.
It's Kevin Durand, isn't it?
Kevin Durand, I think so.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, he was on Stargate SG-1 for like a couple of seasons and came back, when they had the meeting of the Goa'uld while Daniel was still quote unquote dead. For those of you who haven't seen it, yes, that's a spoiler. So, but if you haven't seen it, are you living under a rock? God, Stargate.
Confession, I've never watched Stargate.
Ah! Oh, well, then I could go back and say that it's not for everybody. But I'll give you that concession, hon. That's fine. So now that we've hit the bottom of the hour, we can wrap up this episode. So we've got our stranger coming into Catacat and all hell breaking loose in Mercia.
Yes, and this next episode, Warrior's Fate, it's really action-packed. There's a heck of a lot of jumping between threads. They packed a lot into this episode.
Well, a lot that was it was so visually striking. That coupled with the score, holy hell. It was hard to not look at the TV screen. I felt like if I looked away, I was going to supremely miss something.
Yes, I was like that. I was like, must focus. Every scene is important.
Yeah, just about. I mean, yikes. I think also this is where at the beginning of this episode, it might have been at the end of the last with Torsten. He's just laying there suffering, and the guys and gals are playing that coin game.
Yes, not quite sure what the rules are to that. They just seem to flick the coin into the bucket. That's all they've got to do.
And Loki seems to be really Floki rather seems to be really good at it. I got to give Gustav Skarsgård a lot of credit because, man, he can play this crazy character. No problem. But they're playing, and basically the Torsten is like, hey, you fracking savages. It's like, and I think Floki says, what are you complaining about? Like, you could have done any better. And he doesn't care about the stupid game and asks Loki to cut off his arm.
Yes, he's clearly in a lot of pain. The arm's going purple.
Yeah, and so is he, for that matter.
Yes, you can see it spreading up his neck and across his chest. It's like, I know a scene that we did skip that did make me laugh in the last episode. That scene with Rollo and Torsten. With Rollo? What, he gives him some mushrooms to try and kind of help him, and then Rollo's munching on these mushrooms as well. And it just has a really odd little scene with a prisoner that they've taken. But he takes offense to the way this poor guy's lying and just attacks him with an axe.
Yeah, just Torsten is like, what'd you do that for? And, Rollo's all stoned. It was the angle of the leg.
That was such a weird scene. But yeah.
Poor Torsten. So gross.
The mushrooms clearly didn't take the edge off. So
no, poor Torsten is suffering and suffering and suffering. And so, yeah, he asks Floki to cut off his arm, and Floki's like, okay. Like, nothing much really phases him. and they heat the axes and everything, and then they cut to that scene, and you see them drive that axe into Thorsten's shoulder, and even Floki winces at the sight of it. And so does Ragnar, for that matter.
Yes, and then they cauterize the wound. It's like, oof.
I thought cheese and rice. There's no way. I'm like, we can't lose Thorsten now. Well, spoiler alert. We lose Thorsten.
Rip Thorsten.
Which really sucks. Rip Thorsten. Yeah. And I love that character.
Me too.
He was a great guy. Great character. And kudos to the actor who played him. I mean, he was our comic relief for the most part. Because he was just so silly.
That was Jefferson Hall was Thorsten.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
What else has he been in? Is he a big actor across the pond, or?
I don't recognize him.
Me neither.
He looks familiar, but I can't place him, if you know what I mean. I have to research his IMDb. But
yeah, me too.
At least in this, he was such a good character, and he had so many kind of near misses as well that you think
that's true.
He's pretty much immortal.
Well, shoot, Floki a couple episodes ago pretty much quote unquote kills him with the mushroom. Here's magic mushrooms again. Thank you, Mark, for that one. Yeah. I was just like, I thought Thorsten was invisible. No, invincible. Turns out not so much. But we'll get to that in a second. King Egbert finally visits the settlement to check on first harvest, etc., how things are going, rebuffing the criticism from his nobles.
Yes, they're still bitching and moaning that they don't want the pagans there, that they want them to convert. And he also brings them a brand new, top of the line plow.
Yeah, fresh off the assembly line.
That Lark was very pleased with.
Oh man, it's like somebody handed her a pot full of gold. I was like, dude, look how excited this woman is. You know, it's like you wouldn't think she was one of the most fierce shield maidens ever to have walked the planet. No, she's a farmer at heart. And she's like, how does this thing cut into the ground and yet turn the soil? Oh my God. And King Egbert even adds, put poop in it and you're going to get a hell of a crop.
Good to know.
It's like, oh, thank you for that. So, yay!
I think he also gets criticized by his nobles, if I remember at one point, because we're talking about the farming. They've given away their kind of farming techniques, and the nobles are having a go kind of behind his back that the Vikings haven't shared their shipbuilding secrets with them. So they think there should be a little bit of give and take, a bit of tit for tat.
Yeah. Uh-huh. I have to agree. And I wondered about that. I was like, well, if you want to know about shipbuilding, you need to talk to Floki, and he's not here right now.
Good luck with that.
Good luck getting Floki to talk to you about anything, because he hates Christians. So, I mean, with the burning passion of 1,000 suns. It's just like, that's going to be a no-go, throwing that out there.
Yeah, that's a conversation that's not going to happen.
No, not anytime soon. Now we can go back to, would it be prudent? Sure, what the hell? We can go ahead and talk about Harbard, who is the stranger. Harbard asks for help. Of course, Helga brings him back to the longhouse. And kind of is like, look who I found wandering the square. It's a stranger with an injured hand. Huh. Who knew?
Aslog's kind of, okay, this happened. But Siggy's like, oh shit.
Siggy does the oh shit, and then I remember her watching her face as he's sitting there telling this story as kind of his gift to, for them bringing him into the longhouse and giving him a straw bed to sleep on, essentially. She's kind of looking at him like, yeah, bullshit. I'm not buying this.
Yes, she's not falling for it at all. And he's very charismatic. He's very charming. He's very polite.
Extremely.
And he seems to win the other two over quite quickly. You know, he's not he's not rude. He doesn't get drunk. He tells stories. And later on in the evening, I think, if I remember correctly, we hear Ivar crying.
Yes. And he wakes up the boys. He wakes up his brothers. And pretty much Harbard is like, who is that? And Oslog answers, it's no one. And I was like, what? How could you? This is a son you saved because you didn't want him to be essentially fed to the wolves. And you say he's no one. And Harbard says he is your son. And I'm like, oh, shit.
Yes, he's your son and he needs to see me, I think he said, if I remember correctly. Yeah.
Yes.
So Harbard's not taking no for an answer. So he follows Oslog in to see the boys. And poor little Ivar, he's clearly very distressed. He's crying his head off. And Harbard just kind of puts his hand on the baby's head and starts stroking his head. And he's talking to him and saying he's going to take away the pain. And he just kind of lulls him back to sleep.
And it's time to sleep. Go to sleep, Ivar. And I'm like, shit, you keep talking like that. I'm going to go to sleep.
It wasn't just Ivar, though, was it? It was the other boys, because I remember the other little one, he falls back asleep almost immediately as well.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think that was Hitzuk. He's just like... But I think there was a cut, and it wasn't a long cut, but it was a cut to the boys where I think Hitzuk falls back to sleep, but Uba is watching a little bit.
I think little Sigurd falls back asleep as well.
Yeah.
It's like, huh.
Yeah. I keep forgetting about Sigurd's snake in the eye.
Yeah, considering he was supposed to be kind of a more prominent, they haven't really done much with him so far.
Not yet. Well, he is just a wee. He's just a wee lad.
He's just a little one.
Yeah. So, that's okay. And there's character development coming up for the boys. That's for damn sure. But the way that Harbard is with Ivar just sort of shocks her into a holy crap kind of moment. And you can see her kind of like, oh, huh. So this is the reason you came to Catacat.
Yes, this stranger has been able to do something that she can't do as the mother, and just kind of calm her son and lull him back to sleep. So it kind of paints him in a much different light, not just as a storyteller, because he was telling stories about Thor.
Yeah.
But definitely you can see a calculating look in Siggy as well as
I think she's trying to see how she can use it to her advantage, because let's face it, she wanted her crown back, as queen of Catacat, essentially. So yeah, I can see the calculation on Siggy pretty blatantly. But you just don't know how it's going to play out. So I got to give the writer a lot of credit for this. So thank you, Michael Hurst. You're wonderful. But with whatever happens with Ivar, a fisherman shows up the next morning with 2 young boys that he's caught in the nets that have drowned. The boys have drowned.
Yes, that was such a kind of jolting scene.
Yeah.
It was like, what is going on?
Exactly. And I thought, oh my God, is this a life for a life? In order to give Ivar strength and calm him and give him energy and essentially make him into who he becomes, they have to take lives, or Harbord has to, in order to heal Ivar.
Mm-hmm.
It was really, really weird. That was my first impression of that scene. But it was like, it was still a what the hell?
And this kind of, it's brought back up because Siggy is very, very confused about what's going on. And she goes to the seer, and the seer's just got nothing for her. He sees nothing in regards to what's going on. And that confused her even more.
Yeah, that made things even worse. So it was like, Siggy's just really like hyper conflicted right now. Now, are we safe in going back to Wessex at this point? Or
I think so,
back
yeah.
to Mercia?
Yeah, back to Mercia, because we've pretty much covered everything that went on in Connecticut. That's pretty much how it ended for that particular episode, with the deaths of these young boys, and Siggy just being very, very suspicious of what the heck is actually going on.
Yeah, she's got a complete WTF moment.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay. Weird. Hey, Keely. Good to see you, sweetheart.
Hey, Keely.
So, Mercia. Well, we have to deal with Torsten, because at the beginning of the battle, the second battle, Torsten doesn't have an arm. I think he even says something to Rollo as they're leaving. He's like, I want to go with you. But, Rollo's like, but how can you?
Mm-hmm.
But Rollo relents and is just like, all right, dude, this is the Viking way to die. Picks him up and they take him with him to the battlefield.
Yes, I think he could probably tell that Torsten wasn't going to last much longer, and he's kind of granting his last request to go out fighting if he could possibly.
Yeah. Which is the way you want to go out as a Viking.
Exactly, yeah. There would have been no honor for him to, say, die in his sleep from his injuries.
Mm-hmm. So, and Torsten walking up over that hill, or at least stumbling up over that hill. Everybody else kind of hiding below, and Torsten walking up, and the soldiers, the Mercian soldiers, have no idea what to make of him at first. Mm-hmm. I think they even called him a wizard or something or called it witchcraft or magic or something like that.
Yes, yeah, they thought that this guy's got to either be protected or he's got to be crazy to come up here alone.
I'd say crazy, but also Viking. So, so when Torsten went out, he went out with a bang.
He did, and he also went out carrying only a shield. He didn't have a weapon with him. He took the shield with him. He marched towards the army, and they kind of trying to figure out what's going on. So they fire some arrows at him. He manages to deflect some of them with the shield, and then gets hit in the leg, and he still continues forward.
And I think at that point, once he has continued forward, he's gotten hit like 3 or 4 times at this point. Mm-hmm. He walks forward even a little bit more and drops to the ground and starts calling for Odin.
Yeah.
For Odin to take him home to Valhalla. And his final kind of FU to these Mercian soldiers is to pull one of the arrows from his arm from his leg rather, and then stab one of the soldiers. I was like, yes, that's the Viking way to go out.
He did. He even managed to take someone with him.
Yep. So I thought, well, he's going to Valhalla for sure. Oh my gosh. And then here come the Vikings up over the hill. Ah! And this music starts.
Mm-hmm.
That was just intense. And the cuts they did during the battle scenes, from cut to the scene and then slow mowing it. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
You guys have got to watch this episode.
They focus on one character and then in slow motion and then quickly cut to the next, and then they cut to another one. and it was really well done. And like as you say, in the background there's this score playing. It was such a good scene.
It was incredible, and it was long.
It was long.
It didn't feel it, but it was long.
Mm-hmm.
The worst part about it is what happens to Porin.
Yes.
That was brutal.
Porin got a little bit carried away, as she had been warned not to do. And if I remember correctly, she gets slashed across the face.
Yep. She got a beat down pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, she's about to get killed. And Bjorn just basically, well, he really did drop everything and tackled this guy and just beat the ever-loving shit out of him with his helmet. I was like, holy, okay, rage. Okay, makes sense. But also stopped what he was doing in order to defend her and kind of take care of her without much regard for his own safety. And thankfully, folks left him alone. I mean, there was so much other fighting going on in the scenes.
Yes, luckily his nickname still lives up and he was unharmed.
Bjorn Ironside, yeah. He lived up to it. It was cool. Yeah. That was so brutal. That was like one of the worst. I actually audibly gasped when I saw that scene. Because I thought, oh shit, there goes Porin. Okay, Bjorn's going to be all sad and weird. No, okay, that's not happening. All right. Interesting.
It was a good scene. And they kind of force back the prince's army and they crest over this hill that they were fighting on. And below them is another army assembled.
Yeah. Well, even Ragnar is injured.
Mm-hmm.
He gets the side swipe from a spear, and it's just like, oh, ow. But he comes up over that hill and looks down into that it looked like a crater to me, but it was probably...
It looks like kind of like a dormant volcano, because we do have them here. It was like that kind of basin, so high walls surrounding it, which tactically turned out to be a really terrible idea.
Bad idea.
But yeah, it's got the prince and he's a larger army surrounding him, and that's when they get attacked from above.
Yep, by Aethelwulf's people.
Yep,
and they sort of, and I think I remember Bergred saying, "Enough, no more fighting. I surrender." If I remember that scene correctly, it's all a jumble because that was such an intense fight scene. To see it culminate in that, and then Ragnar kind of standing there going, "Oh shit, there's more of an army."
Yes, and they sort of used their tactics against them. It was almost that kind of like they redid that pincer movement that they had done against them.
Yes,
where Ragnar faces them head on, and then from the sides and above, Aethelwulf's forces just pick them off one by one with bow and arrow.
Yeah, brilliantly shot. Not the arrows, but
so strategically, it was actually a really terrible place
bad
to put
choice.
your army.
Yeah. Yeah, strategically, not a good plan. But he did surrender.
He did, yes.
So, that kind of sews up that episode.
It does, yeah. There was a little bit more between King Egbert and Lagertha. They're kind of getting a lot more friendly.
Definitely.
That's another weird scene. He actually invites them all to his bath, because we know how much King Egbert loves having a bath.
He's so shit for that bathhouse.
That was a really odd scene, and Lagertha's never seen anything like this before.
Yeah, I was just like, this is so cool. She was like a kid in a candy store. But yeah, King Egbert is just obsessed with bath time.
It's
With
when he
good
goes
reason. Good place to think.
yeah, it's when he goes to do all his thinking and other things, apparently.
Thinking, strategizing, and getting hot with Largatha, while Athelstan and Princess Judith are on the other side. I'm like, creepy. But oh yeah, awkward. This is suddenly very uncomfortable. Of course, we see the feelings for Princess Judith that Princess Judith is harboring for Athelstan. Also,
I
might be skipping ahead, but
no, that's correct. Yeah, she kind of confesses to him that she's been fantasizing about him, and he's not sure what to do about that because she's married, obviously, and he's priest, bishop. I'm not sure what he is anymore.
he's the bishop.
Yeah.
But is he even a priest?
He
was just a monk.
He's just a monk. He says he's still a monk.
That's right.
Yeah,
he was only a monk. I don't think I could hear your confessions.
Of
course, that she confesses weird.
Yeah, I think he probably would rather have not have heard that confession.
And I think in a later scene, he says to Judith that you never stayed to hear your penance. And she says, "This is my penance. You're leaving." Uncomfortable. Okay, fun. So that closes it up.
That's pretty much it. Yeah, poor Ren is badly injured. Ragnar has a go at Bjorn about it. Blames him.
Dad is not happy.
Yeah,
Dad is definitely not happy.
And that's pretty much how that episode ends. There was a lot that went on with these two episodes, and like we were saying, there's a lot of kind of cutting back and forth between Cataket, Mercia. It was all over the place.
It was, but it all. I've got to say, Michael, the writer, is doing a magnificent job of pushing these threads out there, knowing full well he's going to start tying them up, and they'll lead to another thread later in another episode, or even another season. So
I did forget one little scene as well that was kind of a little bit weird. When they celebrate the harvest, they have a sacrifice.
I was trying to forget that scene because I skipped it. I was just
skipped that one. Okay.
I had to. I was just.
It's like they almost did it on purpose just to make the nobles uncomfortable.
Yeah, you want to see a bunch of guys just all kinds of squeamish and shit. Yeah, go ahead and murder a full-on cow, and right there for the world to see.
And then pour blood over Largatha.
Yeah, then pour blood on Largatha, and then let's scatter the blood all over the field. And I think one of them even makes a comment about the savages and the savagery of the act. And I'm like, no, that's their way. They sacrifice animals to Thor for a good harvest, or to Frey, or whichever god is in charge at the time. I think she said Thor. Or it could have been Freya.
I think it was Freya, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, watching that scene, they were just looking at their faces was classic. The Englishmen's faces, they were just so shocked. But yeah, I had to skip that scene. I know it's not real, but not really, really real. I even skipped some of the sacrificial scenes in when they went to Uppsala. I was like,
well, there was a lot in that episode.
Yeah, there was a lot. I didn't want to. I couldn't do it. So I'm like, okay, we'll just take this little scene out, not forget that it's there, and I forgot that it was there. Thank you for reminding me, honey. But yeah, you're right. It was a little bit of an important scene, but hot.
I just thought it was funny just because it's kind of cementing that they're really sticking to their beliefs, even though they're in England. You know, they're not going to bow to what
Exactly.
the nobles want.
No, they're definitely not going to give the nobles an inch about any of that. That's said on my grossed out noises, guys. That wraps up our show for today because it is now 11 o'clock. I can't believe the hour is gone already. Holy shit, guys.
Thank you guys for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you guys for tuning in. So I got my date book out. And let's see. I believe Wednesday we will be covering Bonfire Night.
Indeed. Yeah, we will.
Are we? Yeah, we're going to be covering Bonfire Night. We may or may not have a special guest on. We don't know yet. We're waiting for a callback. But I am curious to hear about this because it's not a thing here, obviously, in the U.S. We didn't have a gunpowder rebellion. So I'm looking forward to hearing what you guys have to say about it. So it's cool. Wonder if we could make that a thing here in the States. If we could get a bonfire night. We may end up with one if Tuesday goes all sideways. So Wednesday we have that going on. We don't really have a plan for Friday yet, but we will get something going on.
Yes, Friday's a little bit up in the air, but we'll figure something out.
Yeah, most definitely. Otherwise, guys, we will see you in Loki's chat. Anything else coming up on your schedule this week, sweetheart?
Not that I know of. No, just big thank you to everyone who helped Bird today, and
yes,
we'll continue to put the link out for the next few days.
Yeah, let me, in fact, real quick, I will drop the link again in our chat while we're talking about it. So here we go. Paste. There is the link for the GoFundMe, guys. So if you guys want to go over there and help out BirdOPrey and MamaPrey, do it. There's the link. Go nuts. Hey, Bone.
Hey, Bone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bone.
Thank you, Bone. Oh, it's because you're at work. Okay, gotcha. All right, guys. So till Wednesday, we will see you Wednesday morning. I think Wednesday morning. Are we doing Wednesday morning? Yes, we're doing Wednesday morning.
Yep, Wednesday morning.
Yeah, one of those mornings. It's cold in here.
Time means nothing anymore.
Nope, it's like March through 245th or something like that. I've quit counting months at this point. But yeah, guys, we will talk to you Wednesday morning. Otherwise, we'll see you in the chat tomorrow on Loki's Mornings of Mischief.
Have a great day, guys.
Have a great day, guys. Take care, y'all. Mwah! Love y'all.
Bye.